Welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, the podcast covering all things soccer in the Queen City. So get in touch, soccer fans. Email us at feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. Now, here's your host, Nick Suberly.
What's happening, CSTers? Welcome to episode 128 of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Glad you're with us. It's another fine Monday evening in the great state of Ohio. FC Cincinnati continues their unbeaten run with a 1-0 win over Penn FC. Manu Ledesma getting on the score sheet late for FC Cincinnati. So we're going to recap that match against Penn FC over the weekend. Of course, we've got a big matchup coming up this weekend against the Charleston Battery, a Battery side that FC Cincinnati has not seen since week 1, a Battery side that is also third place in the Eastern Conference and playing some really good soccer right now. So we will touch on that match a little bit later on in the show. We are going to open up the phone lines, so we're asking you early. Get in touch with us. We want to know what your thoughts are from last weekend's match over Penn FC, the win over Penn FC. We want to know your thoughts on Fernando Adi. We saw him again over the weekend playing for FC Cincinnati. This is your chance, FC Cincinnati fans, to have your say. So get in touch with us on the Kings Hammer hotline at 513-399-KICK. Of course, we're going to be monitoring all the chats. I think we've got like 5 of them now with Facebook and YouTube and Periscope and Twitch. There's probably another one I don't even know about that's out there. So make sure you get in touch with us. Oh, you can email us, feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. We don't have an episode captain this week, but if you're interested in learning how to become one, head on over to cincinnati-soccertalk.com/support. All right, let's welcome in the cast of characters for this week. I'll start first and foremost with Bradley Weigel. Brad, how are you, sir?
Hey, good, Subes. How's Cedar Point?
It was pretty rad. I'm not going to lie, man. That place... I grew up at Kings Island. I could see it from my window growing up. But Cedar Point is it's a whole nother level, man. And I know Cincinnatians take a lot of pride in KI, but man, Cedar Point it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've wanted to go. I've never been.
You should. It's pretty. I mean, you take Kings Island and I would say multiply it by about 10. I mean, the roller coasters there are fantastic. So you should do yourself a favor and get up there. The Premier League season has started for you as well. How about your Spurs?
It's been a trying week. They did win on Saturday. Wasn't pretty, kind of like FC Cincinnati this weekend as well. I think our guy Eric Turner on Facebook, he already hit the nail on the head. He said a bad win is better than a good loss. But yeah, Spurs not bringing any players, and now we find out that their stadium is delayed. So just all kinds of stuff going on, but glad to be back here, Subes.
Yeah, glad to have you back as well. We were kind of joking with you, and I have to give full credit to your brother Brian for pointing this out, that FC Cincinnati did spend more in the transfer window than the San Antonio Spurs. No, I'm just kidding. The Tottenham Hotspur. How does that make you feel?
Dude, they got Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Christian Eriksen. They'll be just all right. Now, are they going to beat Liverpool or Man City this year? No, but I think they're better than everybody else.
Fair enough. Glad to have you back, buddy. Looking forward to getting your take on the win for FC Cincinnati over the weekend. Let's also welcome back to the show Mr. PTO, Mr. Social, Mr. Everything. I never get to work because I'm always on vacation. Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle. Boston, how are you, buddy?
How you doing, Subes? Mr. Watch Your Tackles. I'm glad to be back on the podcast. Had a great time Saturday watching the game, watching another FC Cincinnati win. I tell you what, we're getting spoiled down here. But had a good week. Didn't watch a single moment of English Premier League because I'm high on FC Cincy. I don't need that stuff in my life.
Well, that's probably also because you don't have a team, right?
It's also why. Yeah, I'm an American soccer / football fan, and yeah, I'm good. I'm good with what I got.
Good. Well, we're glad to have you back. Also glad to have back another gentleman who is also not a Euro snob with his football. He's all FCC all the way, and that is the Wolfman, Bill Wolf. Bill, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. Yeah, definitely FCC all the way. I've done some watching of MLS in the past. I've done some EPL watching in the past, but yeah, for me, it's all about this city, this town, this team.
Yeah, as it should be. Look, everybody has different allegiances. I grew up watching Manchester United. Brad, obviously, being a Spurs fan. Rob Pierce somehow became a Liverpool fan. So did Joseph. Poor guys. No, I'm kidding, of course. But everybody obviously very exciting. It was a great weekend for soccer fans in this country because obviously the Premier League is back, and you got FC Cincinnati getting a 1-0 win over Penn FC. I think a lot of people leading up to this match did not see that match play out the way that it did. They thought FC Cincinnati was going to put the ball in the back of the net multiple times. Instead, it came kind of fluky. Manu Ledesma with the free kick there in the 80th minute off a deflection finds the back of the net, and that is how the match ends 1-0. FC Cincinnati kind of squeaks by against Penn FC. Sort of a makeshift lineup. Obviously, Deco Kynan didn't play. A lot of other guys. Cicerone getting a rare start for this season. We usually start the show off with our best and worst. So, Bill, I'm going to start with you. Your best and worst from Sunday's win over Penn FC.
You came right into my best, which is having some these other players getting some time on the field. I think it's great that let me restart again. It's not great that people were hurt, but it's great that we have a roster that when Evan Newton suddenly comes up injured during training, and Deco Kynan has an injury during training with his knee, I think they said. And even Jimmy was, injured and fighting off something, though he did get some playing time. But all these guys couldn't start. And, we pull in Cicerone, we pull in Patty Barrett, we pull in Spencer Ritchie. And honestly, it wasn't like you thought, oh, gosh, we're in trouble. So, I felt in general for me that, it was great to see the depth of the roster and the fact that we could just roll in some other players and keep going. So. Worst, I would say at this point, I'm frustrated with USL and some of the lack of transparency in their disciplinary committee and how some of this stuff works. The fact that, we had the whole Welshman thing a while back where he got his 3-day suspension. The game right before our game with Penn, Pizer, their goalkeeper, came out and just took out a guy, basically studs up right at his ankle. No foul, no call, no discipline after the play, after the whistle. I just don't understand how these decisions are made, and then, we have the whole tooth incident, which we'll talk about more, but, you had a pretty severe elbow and a foul against Nas. So, yeah, I'm just kind of wondering, what's going on a little bit, and who's reviewing these things and who's looking back at stuff. So,
yeah, I saw that play too and thought, well, he's going to be out, and I was surprised to find out that he wasn't. Yeah, that was kind of a crazy play because you watch the replay, and that was a good 4 or 5 seconds after the whistle that he made that tackle. But that's USL and Pro for you, Bill. What can I say?
Yep.
I don't know where else to go with that one.
Let's take a moment and realize that Nazmi got his tooth knocked out, and then he still played 55 more minutes of soccer.
Yep.
I mean, I would have been on the ground whining like a baby. I mean, I would still be having issues right now a day later. And the guy, and gotta give all credit in the world for his toughness and grit going out there still.
I mean, what? Technically, that thing was just sliced right in half, though, right?
It was.
Let's
I've
try
never
that
had
for you,
happen
Boston,
to me,
and see what you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's just no big deal.
if we can donate $500 to sports games for kids by this coming game, we're gonna slice Boston's tooth in half. Let's do it. Let's see how he does it.
Yeah.
Oh, Boston. This is one of those things where you've been on the show before, and you've opened your mouth, and now here's what's happened here. So, Brad, obviously, you chimed in there about the tooth. Was that your worst?
Probably the first half is what I would call the worst, but I think we're going to talk about that a little bit more. the first half. Just I thought they would bounce back a little bit better after the kind of the collapse at the end and a little bit of a poor showing versus Nashville. That would be my worst. But I think my best would be, again, the guys showing the grit, locking down, even when they were exposed a little bit on the defensive side. Patty Barrett and Forrest Lasso made some great tackles to clear out any chances. So I think I have to say that the toughness to go 12 matches with a loss is my best for the week.
Yeah, and look, we know that not every game for FC Cincinnati is going to be pretty. And they're on a really incredible run. I mean, this is a club record 12-match unbeaten streak. It's not going to be pretty soccer all the time. I guess where a lot of fans' frustration lies is the fact that Penn FC, not the greatest of teams in the USL. You would have thought that after what happened against Nashville, the way they conceded late, the way they were actually, for the most part, I don't know if they were outplayed against Nashville. I would say. I think we would all agree with that. I thought they would have bounced back against Penn FC and really put it to them, and it just, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the additions of new guys. I don't know what's going on, but I guess ultimately, Boston, in the end, a win is a win, and you move on to live another day against Charleston here in a few weeks. What are your best and worst from the weekend?
Well, I'll tell you what. My worst is Mr. Tommy Heineman, old man, train.
Did he show?
Tractor.
Did he play?
He showed. He came in. In the second half, about midway through the
70th minute.
half. Yeah.
But that went well.
Oh man, he looked like my grandfather. I mean, just crawling out there. And I would tell you what, a Lasso and Patty Barrett looked extremely athletic, running circles around that guy. He's good for jumping, but not much else. So I'm kind of okay with the whole.
Would you say his knee looked a little tender, Boston?
His knee looked a little red.
Yeah, a little swollen. He iced that right away after the match.
I bet.
Yeah, I bet he had to.
I mean, how surprised? I know I was surprised. How surprised were you guys that FC Cincinnati even saw him on the field? Because let's face it, he hasn't played much this year for Penn FC, and obviously there was something going on before the season that FC Cincinnati saw and decided, nah, we're good. I mean, I'd imagine you were all very, very shocked.
I was a little surprised to see him just because it's been 2 months since he's played. I think it was kind of just I'm going to go up against FC Cincinnati type of move. And that's why it's my worst, because it probably wasn't time. It wasn't ready. I think that was clearly obvious.
They were maybe they'll save him for the playoff run for Penn FC.
I wasn't shocked to see him. I was expecting to see him.
Really?
Really?
Well, I also read Brian's pre-match report, so it kind of alluded that it was likely he'd be there.
So you have inside sources.
Yeah, Brian Weigel.
I don't know. I guess I was surprised. Personally, I would have thought no chance. But hey, you know what? I'm glad they put him in. That made Patty Barrett's and Forrest Lasso's job a little bit easier. No question about that. So
yeah. When Patty Barrett's like 10, 15 yards behind him and runs past him to get the ball, it's you definitely are not looking at a high class striker there.
Yeah. But ultimately, look, as I can't remember who said it. An ugly win is better than a good loss. Was that Eric? I believe Eric in our chat room.
Turner, yep.
Yeah. So they got the 3 points. It wasn't pretty, but you still have some issues, Brad.
Yeah, I just would like to see them assert themselves on these games a little bit better, especially off the start. We've had a lot of times this year that we've just come out slow, poor, and we've let the other team dictate the action, and we've just gotten slow. And luckily Allen's made some good tactical adjustments at half, and then substitution has been going well. It's just I'd like to see them start off a little bit faster, consistently. I know against Nashville you had that wicked fast goal by Koenig, and I know but I know that's a little bit of an outlier. But I just a little bit disappointed about how we've had a couple in a row where they just haven't played their best. But I do have to say, when when you don't have Ledesma playing his best and you've got Nazmi without a tooth, he's got to be in a lot of pain. He's not playing his best, and you still hold off for a win and versus a point from Nashville. I guess if this is going to be our downtime and we've won 4 out of 5, I guess I have to take it with a little bit of context.
Yeah, not only was he playing without a tooth, but he had to come out of the game twice, which kind of throws the whole rhythm off. We're playing down a man, then he has to kind of get back into the flow of things. At some point, they ended up putting like 2 or 3 sutures or stitches in his lip. I mean, yeah, it was definitely not a good game for him.
And you can't blame him. I mean, look, that's probably not easy to play in.
No.
So what is it, Bill? This team, we watched them against Nashville and all kind of left Nippert Stadium kind of scratching our head and wondering what the heck. We watched this team pretty much get outplayed against Nashville for 90, I would say 88 minutes. And then they scored obviously the late goal. And then against Penn FC, you're just kind of left scratching your head. Is this something tactically? Is it something that, maybe the guys need another break? I mean, I don't. Can you put your finger on it?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can quite put my finger on it, but I can at least say that, like with the Nashville game, I looked at some of the average positioning of the players, and we never, like, from an average player position standpoint, we never really got out of our half. I mean, we spent the entire time there. I mean, if you looked at the stats, we weren't really too far off on possession. We really weren't too far off on pass accuracy and all these other things, but we're playing in our half, so at some point, the fact that, you can pass the ball and you can win aerial duels and all the other stats that they keep is nice, but you got to move the ball forward. And if we're not moving the ball forward, we play in our half, that's not going to work. And the first half of this game against Penn FC was basically the same. I mean, we stayed back in our half. I don't know if it's just, I don't know if we're just being too conservative, like we get the ball and we're afraid to take a risk.
I mean, we're playing Lasser's having to do 40, 50-yard long balls way too much. And honestly, that might work with Fernando Adi, and you never know. They could be moving to this 4-3-3 to get, the long-term plan is they have Adi up top. But Koenig's just not a hold-up striker. And how much we want to believe that he could do that role. It's just not the case. And so when you do that, you're conceding possession on a lot of those long balls, and you're not resetting the field, and then you're not able to press their center backs. And so there's just a lot of issues there where we're not able to get our guys running. They're all kind of stuck slow, allows their defenders to stay on our guys, especially our midfielders. And, Nazmi and Corbin and Lahoud can't be as effective distributing the ball. So,
and by the way, I know how much you love watching us just bomb balls forward from our center backs and just hoping. I know that's your favorite kind of soccer.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get. We just need to figure out how to get the ball to Ledesma more centrally. I know he's been on this wing a lot, and I just don't see the point of it. I think when you see FC Cincinnati running the ball, he's making moves. He's cutting in, he's playing fast, he's distributing the ball, he's taking shots, he's going to the top of the box, and I know he had a great ball off the post. We just need to make sure to spread things out a little bit more and get these guys into space. And I think right now it's just so clogged. I don't know necessarily what the best way to go about that is. Maybe, I don't know if it's a 4-4-2. I don't know what the best way to go about it is. Just, I kind of feel like when we get into these situations where we get clogged up in the midfield, it just looks like we're without a plan.
All right, Boston, hop in there. I know you want to chime in.
Oh, I think these guys are just all wrong, Subs. They're all messed up. This game was all about experimentation, and we kind of saw that with Hatch's. I'm sorry, not Hatch's, but Coach Koch's halftime remarks. He said, "Guys, don't worry about the result. It's 0-0. We're just going to continue rolling with what I've planned for today." He rolled out a first time 4-3-3 formation. He rolled out Russell Cicerone in the starting lineup. Paddy Barrett was an unexpected lineup change. He only used one of the 3 new players. He subbed in Jimmy McLaughlin, Kenny Walker. This is kind of, to me, was a, hey, everyone that's been a part of this team, run out there, give me your best. This is Penn FC. We better win. I'm going to change things up. This was a safe game. Let's be honest. This was a safe game. At no point in that match did I feel like Penn FC was going to score a goal on us. They had, 2 shots on goal. Neither one of them were very threatening. The 3-man back line held the line, did a great job. FC Cincinnati played well defensively. And yes, it had the danger of being a 0-0 draw, but it never had the danger of being a 0-1 loss.
So you chalk this up to like a throwaway game almost. Like, at this point, it's the Penn FC. We're going to get some guys out there and maybe see what kind of maybe do a little tinkering to see what we come up with.
Yeah, the moment I saw the starting lineup, I knew Allen was messing with things.
Is there any merit to that, Bill? Here we go.
Yeah, I don't know that I would go as far as a throwaway game or just experimenting. I don't think that's the way this worked. I think, there was some specific injuries. We know that Evan Newton was hurt. We know that Declan Cannon was hurt. We know that Jimmy McLaughlin was hurt. You're bringing in some different people. And I think there is the potential that there is a little experimenting going on, and it could be, I think Brad alluded to it, that we could be trying to think ahead to having Audie as a starting player and maybe playing a little bit different style of game with him up top. So maybe a 4-3-3 is the direction we want to go. But I don't think this was kind of like a throwaway game where let's just throw some guys out there and try some stuff and let them run. There's a plan. It's whether it's a good one or a bad one, we'll see. But I think there was a plan there.
Oh, I agree. I agree with the plan part of it. I just agree that it's not like we've been playing.
Well, we definitely wasn't like we were playing. It was a 4-3-3. So.
Well, one thing we do know, Manu Ledesma gets on the score sheet, snaps a 4-game scoreless streak for FC Cincinnati. And a lot of us, and look, I think at this point we have to say he's, if not the favorite, he's a clear candidate for USL MVP with what he has done this year. But we're kind of wondering where is his best position? Is he better off playing more centrally for FC Cincinnati? We saw when he and Koenig were connecting there in the middle of the park that they were a dynamite tandem. Lately, I don't know if you go with a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, if you put him out wide, do you get the best out of Manu Ledesma? So, Brad, I'm throwing it over to you. What's going on with Manu?
Kind of like I said before, he's not getting the ball in the right places. It's too clogged up, so they can't run, and he's just got to go off of individual moments of brilliance to try to score. I mean, I know luckily he had that free kick goal. He had the ball off the woodwork. I just don't think he's, the way that the team's set up right now, and we're not moving the ball fast enough. We're getting clogged down the midfield. You just can't. We're not getting him open. We're not getting him with chances to run. We're just not distributing the ball fast enough. That when we get bogged down in teams like against Pittsburgh and against Louisville, they're going to try to take Ledesma out of the game, and I've yet to see Koch and the club be able to overcome that. That's what I'm worried about. I'm not panicking. I'm not down on the club. I'm just saying, like, these are some stuff that I'm worried about. We're coming into a more challenging part of the schedule. The final third of the year is going to be a bear between the level of teams we're going to face, and we're going to be going on the road a lot. And I just want to see that progression where we have some other options. If we do get bogged down, we can't get him the ball. How's this team going to score? How's this team going to succeed? And, we've really yet to see us take control over a top team in the conference. We've done great against the lower teams, and outside of Indy, we've really then failed to capitalize against a lot of the top tier teams. So this is just some stuff that I'm worried about. I want to see some changes, and I don't think yesterday was a successful adaptation or implementation of those changes.
So the 4-4-2 diamond was something that Koch had rolled out earlier this year, and when they made the switch, the offense immediately picked up. I would make the argument that when they made the switch to the 4-4-2, it also made them vulnerable at the back. For whatever reason, they were conceding goals at the top of the 18 that probably shouldn't have been conceded. So let's put it this way, though. You put Fernando Adi, which I think we all would agree, he's most likely going to be the 9 going forward. I mean, they're paying him a lot of money. He's going to be playing, right? So I think you put him up top and let Ledesma kind of run off of him, or even just create a partnership with him in the middle. That's a deadly combination right there, Boston.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, I'm okay with Ledesma even playing kind of a wing role as long as you get him center. There's got to be some switching, some transition. If you want to play a Nazmi Abadawi, then that's fine. But you have to be able to interchange those roles, because we all have seen the damage Manu can do center. Not only passing it through, but his shots alone. He creates magic when he's at the top of the box. So you want to get him center. I don't agree that you have to play him there, but you need to find a way to work him in. And yeah, I agree. I think we'll see a lot of Adi going forward. That's something we haven't seen yet, and I'm looking forward to as we, work him into the lineup, gain chemistry. He's had very little practice time thus far.
We just got this question chat, Bill, from Paul Hedger. He says, what about a combination of Adi and Koenig up top? And I'll even add to that, what if you see Adi and Koenig up top with Manu kind of playing that 10 in behind them?
Are the other guys on the field going to be playing defense?
Yeah, that's a good question, Brad. But what about even if you just think about it from the forward standpoint, Koenig and Adi up top? I would think that if you're going to see 2 strikers up top, I think they're almost a little too similar. I mean, I know Koenig is not a hold-up guy like Brad said, but he does have the ability to get in behind defense. But he's not like a burner either. You know what I mean? I think if you're going to have Adi playing that hold-up role, you almost need somebody who's a little bit more shifty that can get in behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd much rather see like Manu Ledesma as like a second, like a withdrawn 9, playing central, getting behind people.
I'll tell you what, I would almost like to see Al-Badawi pulled up closer on Adi, because we've seen what he can do when you lay off a ball. So you got the hold-up striker, lays a ball off to Nas. Nas has been dangerous at that top of the box level. With some of his shots, some of the goals we've seen this year on SportsCenter and Plays of the Week, I would like to see him tucked up maybe more closer to Adi than, this week we kind of saw Nas, Bone, and Lahoud was more dedicated to the central defensive midfield, but they were all 3 kind of rotating positions. I think I would like to pull Al-Badawi up off of Adi and let him lay it off. And then what happens is, if Nas' shot gets saved, Adi's right there to poach a goal right in the box. So I'd like them to see that more than I would like to see a Danny with Adi.
I think you definitely want different styles, and I hadn't thought about that, Brad. I actually really like that idea. I mean, we saw the 4-4-2 diamond for a while, where Nas was the top of the diamond and Manu was sitting just behind Koenig. But if Nas and Manu switch places, that would be interesting. We haven't seen that yet. That could be really effective.
FC Cincinnati does not have a problem scoring. Honestly, to me, it doesn't matter if you put Adi or Koenig up top.
They've had a problem scoring against good
the
teams.
Eastern Conference in goal differential. I mean, this is a midfield problem. We all watched the same Penn FC game. We watched Lasso and Patty Barrett pass the ball back and forth to each other umpteen times. The problem is getting it to the forwards. There is a gap between the defensive line and the forwards, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
That would be the sound of a nail being hit on the head.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brad.
No, that's a huge problem, and I think if you have more dedicated roles within that central defensive mid, or with that midfield, might help a little bit. I think right now they're doing the rotation thing, where Bowen could be defensive midfielder and Lahoud and Nas go forward, and then come next time around, it flips around us. It just feels like they don't necessarily know what they're doing. And when they don't know what they're doing, a symptom of that, or a result of that, is we have trouble connecting the play on the pitch.
So now 2 matches in the Fernando Adi era for FC Cincinnati, and so far, obviously he hasn't been able to put the ball in the back of the net. Had a chance against Nashville. Probably could have had it looks like he probably could have had a penalty over the weekend. What do we make of him so far? I know, Brad, you're a big fan of just how strong this dude really is.
Oh my goodness! I think within these last two matches, you've seen these guys, these defenders just bounce off of them, no matter how big they are. That guy was pulling on him at the end of the second half, where he should have gotten that. In my opinion, should have gotten a penalty. He had 2 hands around Adi, and Adi's still going. I think he's another guy where in the USL he's just going to put us ahead just because he's going to have moments of brilliance like Nazmi, like Ledesma. So I'm excited to see what he does. And I'm not going to judge too much off of how they've played the last 2 matches with him because he's had just a little bit of practice time. And just, this week he was in Portland. Last week he was new to the club and getting engaged. It's tough, but I think you can see the raw skills are there. And I think once you get him comfortable, the players comfortable with him comfortable with the players, knowing where they need to be on the pitch, and then maybe his maybe he moves a little bit faster off the ball. I'd like to see put a little more in there, up it a gear a little bit. I think he's just going to just destroy this league.
Yeah, he's a big dude. I know he had to go back to Portland for some other obligations. The fact that you can't just go on speed and strength alone. But this guy is going to be a beast. So we want to hear from you, though. This is your chance here on the King's Hammer Hotline, 513-399-KICK. What are your thoughts on Fernando Adi? You've seen him up close and personal now twice, FC Cincinnati fans. Are you excited? What do you want to see happen with the lineup? We kind of touched on it here just a few moments ago. What are your thoughts? We see a lot of folks here on Facebook and YouTube and Periscope all chiming in. We want to hear from you, 513-399-KICK. So Boston, Brad kind of hinted at it. He'd like to see him maybe do a little bit more running. What are your thoughts?
No, I think we've only seen barely over a half of this guy in 2 games, and rightfully so because he hasn't been with the team. He hasn't practiced a full week, and Koenig is doing well. 10 goals for Ledesma, and Ledesma's got a lot of assists. I mean, I'm fine. I'm actually fine with Adi coming in the second half so far, but pretty soon he's going to practice full week, and he's going to practice the second full week, and he's going to be the number 9 because you don't pay a guy $500,000 and not start the man. So he's going to get a start, and we're finally going to get to see what he's capable of. We've seen hints and we've seen glimpses. We saw him give Bone a sitter in this last game, and that one went over the net, unfortunately. And we've watched him kind of single-handedly take a couple balls, and you can even argue at the very end of the Penn FC match, he was dragged down by 2 hands on both hips, and the official decided not to call it because it was the end of the game. He just blew his whistle instead. So I mean, I think you put 90 minutes with Adi in a game, he's good for at least 1 goal.
Well, I will say this. The biggest conversation piece I've seen here in our YouTube chat is Fiona being the goalkeeper for penalty kicks. I don't know how that got started, Bill. But obviously, Adi, a big piece for this club. You've seen him now. Your thoughts?
Well, first off, just to clarify on the Fiona thing, it all started from a best and worst conversation where Matt Ingram decided that the worst was Sprinkles, and then we went from there. So we were trying to replace Sprinkles with an effective mascot halftime thing. I don't know. Anyway, you got to get to YouTube to find these things out. Sorry, guys. If you're on Facebook, you're just missing all the fun. Anyway, my thoughts on Adi, I can't say much more beyond what Brad did as far as his physicality. For me right now, though, what I am immensely impressed with is his touch. I mean, just the way he can bring those balls down, that first touch, the way he puts the ball the direction he wants it to go. Sometimes, he's not given a whole lot, but somehow he can get the ball down at his feet and start to do something with it. It's something that, we definitely are not seeing from from players like Koenig up top. I mean, as much effort as he puts in, his first touch is nowhere close to what we're seeing from Audie. So I'm excited by that and the amount of control technically that Audie has over the ball. I agree with Boston. I think give him some time, get him out there playing a lot, and just that alone is going to be huge because he's just going to have those opportunities where he has that technical skill that's just a notch above everyone around him, and he's going to put the ball in the back of the net. As far as his performance thing, I'm not bothered as much by that. I know that lots of different people have different feelings about strikers. For me, that number 9 guy up top, he's kind of a, I don't know what you call him. He's like a drifter for me. He's up there just kind of wandering around, hopefully getting forgotten a little bit by the defenders. And all of a sudden they look and he's off their left shoulder instead of their right shoulder. And he's got the ball. And that's, to me, and I said this, pre-show, we were talking before show. And I said, I don't mind so much if he's not running a lot, as long as he runs when he needs to run. So, when there's a ball there and he bursts out and does something with it, great. So as long as he, it's not like there's the ball and I don't feel like going after that one, then we'll have an issue. But if he chases those things down and makes something out of every play, I'm good. So,
yeah, I think, look, it's still early. FC Cincinnati fans have a lot to be excited for the striker. This is a quality striker, quality Major League Soccer striker playing in USL. Still a really relatively young player as well. So look, we've got a few years to enjoy him. Let's hope that he can get on the score sheet at this upcoming weekend against the Charleston Battery, which is a big game coming up for FC Cincinnati. Charleston 3rd place in the Eastern Conference. We'll talk a little bit more about that match here in just a moment, but it is that time of the show where we thank our tremendous supporters. Let's give it up to Tim Bronson and King's Hammer for their support of CST. Of course, Matt Adamczyk, Mama Subs, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Mike Hudson, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, Mike Bowman, Jesse Gill, Kathleen Francis, Jesse King, Teresa Everidge, Matt Imholt. Liverpool is superior to man. You know what I rode this weekend at Cedar Point, guys? I rode Steel Vengeance. It was a pretty awesome ride. You see what I did there? Again, Matt? Yeah. Anyway, thank you for your tremendous support. If you want to learn how you can support the show, you can do so by going over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. One side note, a little bit of news coming from the club late last week. They announced the addition of Pa Mudaka, and I probably butchered his name, former center back for the Portland Timbers and Vancouver Whitecaps. He has now joined the technical staff for FC Cincinnati in the scouting department. He's made 400 professional appearances with stops in Norway, Sweden, the Netherlands, and Qatar, to name a few. But he played for Alan Koch back in Vancouver in the 2016 season. So, look, they continue to bolster their front office staff. A good signing for the club, and good to see that they're getting some Major League Soccer names here in the Queen City. All right, let's talk a little bit about this upcoming match against the Charleston Battery. Typically, we like to save that a little bit for March to Match Day, which we will still, I'm sure, have a great in-depth discussion there about the upcoming match. But let's talk a little bit about this because Brad has kind of hinted at it a little bit earlier in the show about the fact that when FC Cincinnati plays quality opponents, they struggle to score. Charleston, we know what Charleston is. They are a fantastically well-coached team. Again, find themselves at the top of the Eastern Conference like they normally are. But FC Cincinnati, when they played all the way back in March, are a different team, and so is Charleston. So how excited are you about this upcoming match, Brad?
I think it's going to be another challenge. We've had, a little bit less than stellar team come in this week, and we kind of stooped to their level. So we got a good team coming in this week. So now we got to rise to that challenge. Charleston, no matter what they've played us close. We thought they were going to be a poor team this year. We were all kind of disappointed with that 1-0 win because we felt like we got outplayed. But now look at them; they're in 3rd place, and they're killing it as well. They're going to be well coached coming in here, and I think it's going to be another one of those things. Is how are we going to do against a team who they're going to be tough to break down? Now, I'm really wondering too. They're going to be tough to break down, but they also got Attila Guerra. He's got 12 goals on the year, and the guy's just a beast up front. He's causing a lot of trouble. So it's going to be a test on both sides of the ball, and I'm just excited to see how we're going to match up. It's just one of those statement games, and we really could use one of those to go our way. I'm tired of the draws and losses and all these top matchups.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Boston, were you there all the way back in March for that game? I seem to recall. I know you went last year, but I think you went again this year, right?
Yeah. I go to Charleston every year. I love watching that first game of the season. And it was great. It was great getting that monkey off our back. And I tell you what, I think Charleston, as well as they're doing this year, and they have the same coach, and everything Brad said is 100% correct. They're a tough team. They always are a tough team. It doesn't matter if you get rid of Williams, their star player last year, and replace him with Guerrera, and then you've got Gordon Wild right behind him with 6 goals. So, Charleston's as a 2-striker team, and I think that if FC Cincinnati can defensively play as well as they've been playing and hold those 2 guys off, they'll do all right. And even though Charleston's in 3rd place now, their recent run of form has been just okay. They beat Pittsburgh, which was massive, and then they got a 3-0 win over Richmond, and that's kind of where their peak hit. And then immediately they dip, right? They play North Carolina FC to a 0-0 draw. They play the Tampa Bay Rowdies to a 0-0 draw. They barely beat Atlanta United 1-0, and then they're coming into Cincinnati. So I really like where we are versus where they are. They're kind of in this downtrend, and even though we also only beat Penn FC by 1 goal, I feel like we've got the talent here. Just eliminate 2 players, and I think FC Cincinnati's fine.
I go back to that. Oh, go ahead, Brad.
I was going to say, they haven't lost in 11 games either. So we've got 10 or 12 in a row without a loss. They've got 11 in a row without a loss.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't going to be easy. They've got wins over Louisville. They got wins over Indy. They got wins over Pittsburgh. Two big forces here. What the Marty Brennan calls it a Titanic struggle, and I think it's critical we take advantage of this one. If we can put a win here, going into the tough part of our schedule, I think it's going to send a statement to the rest of the league, and it's going to give our guys the belief that they can go out there and beat these top teams.
Brad, I agree with you, but Charleston, same coach, same style. And if Alan Koch doesn't have this style down by now, I mean, come on. And we beat him in the first game. We need to take them here. We know how they play. They are strictly especially at Nippert, they're going to play, let us hold possession, and they are going to just attack on that counter. And there are a lot of teams that have played that style against us this season, and if FC Cincinnati needs to be able to hold that.
I go back and I seem to recall this match all the way back in March, and I know things have changed, but I think we kind of looked at that match as, man, FC Cincinnati really got lucky getting out of there with 3 points. They had the goal, but Charleston had quite a few chances, and if it weren't for some miraculous Evan Newton saves, FC Cincinnati might not be getting out of there with any points. What we've seen over the last few weeks is maybe a shift of a more defensive shell, maybe being paid more attention to, Bill. Is that because they're looking at the upcoming schedule for FC Cincinnati? He knows he's going to face some teams that can put the ball in the back of the net and that can play. Maybe Allen's a little bit more worried about protecting the goal rather than going and putting in 3 in the back of the net.
I don't know whether that's the case or not. My general impression of Coach Koch is that he tends towards defensive soccer over attacking soccer.
Yeah.
So, my guess is that, he wants to attack because people want to see attacks and people want to see goals. But, if we go through several games where we're giving up late goals or goals here and there, I think he'll revert back to a more defensive style and try to clean up the back end. So I think it's more of just that. That's his style. He'd love a clean sheet every game. 1-0 and 0-0 would be perfectly fine for him. And I could be completely wrong, but that's just kind of my impression of watching him coach.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you score more than the other team, I think that's all he cares about.
Exactly. And he said that very clearly last year, if you remember, right? Because Jeff Burton got out there with the whole, 62 goal prediction and all that stuff, and that was a big thing that blew up on him. But Allen, like from the day he took the job, was like, I'm not interested in 62 goals. I just want to get 3 points and get more goals than the other team. And that I think that's a philosophy that he stated then, and I don't think he's changed. So I think he tends to work from the back forward as far as focus on the defense and then try to score at least one goal more than the other guys. Yeah,
I'd be real curious to see what Ken Hetker's expected goals for this upcoming match is going to be. This is a game where defensively Charleston is solid. They've always been sound there. I would not be surprised if this match ended 0-0 at Nippert Stadium over the weekend. I hope for fans' sake that it won't, because obviously we want to see the ball in the back of the net. But this we cannot overstate this anymore. I mean, this is going to be a really good barometer for FC Cincinnati heading towards the playoffs. So these are the opportunities that FC Cincinnati is going to face here this last stretch of the year, where they're going to start facing these teams in the Eastern Conference that are vying for playoff spots. And I think this is going to be a good test to see where this team stands right now, Brad.
Yep. Real quick, Charleston's road form is 3 wins, 2 losses, and 7 draws. So we know how they're going to play. It just depends on if we can beat the teams that kind of pack it in, like the Louisvilles and Pittsburghs, and if we can try to break that press up top. The teams that do come at us, I think we've shown we're susceptible to it, and that might be some of our issues with the midfield as well. So there's a couple things we can take from this game. I'm interested to see how he rolls it all out.
Boston, you want to add anything to that?
I just want to add something on to Bill's comment. If we can score 1.7, I think, goals per game the rest of the year, we hit Jeff Birding's goal just a year later. Yeah.
Yeah, we should start a new Growler Cup, like predicting what our ending goal count is going to be.
Oh no! I'm Growler Cupped out. Even though I did have the correct score, I did score 5 points over the weekend with my correct prediction. I
thought that was funny when you were saying everybody thinks that we should have scored more goals. I was going to say not you.
Yeah, I went into that match thinking I went into it. I went a couple weeks ago. When they played up in Toronto. A game we thought they were going to have in the bag, that they were going to walk out of there with 3 points, and to give up 3 goals like they did, and to not play well against a team that is not doing well, right? So I thought for sure, for whatever reason, Penn FC, this is their chance. This is their one game to play in front of a packed house. Those guys obviously are having a long year, and so I thought for sure, well then maybe FC Cincinnati might stoop a little bit to their level, so to speak. I also thought that after watching what happened the week before against Nashville, that I don't know. I just had this hunch that it was only going to be a 1-0 game. So I think the expected goals was 2-0. So I don't think it was that far off to guess 1-0. But you're right. Look, anytime Charleston and FC Cincinnati play, it's a close, solid, fun game to watch. It's a defensive struggle. I think it'll be a good game, a good barometer, a good test. How many more times can I say test in 3 different ways? We're going to know where this team stands, and so we'll see what happens. So make sure you check out March to Match Day. I'm sure Brian's going to do a great job with that this week, as always. I'm sure he'll be doing a great job previewing the match against the Charleston Battery. This will be the first time that Forrest Lasso will be playing them here in Cincinnati, his former team, so that'll be good. That'd be nice to see him score against his former team and maybe not celebrate, but it's going to be a fun one this weekend. There's no doubt about it. So real quick before we get out of here, we got about 10 minutes or so left before we begin to wrap things up. We're 2/3 of the way through the year, gentlemen. Is this where you thought FC Cincinnati would be, leading the Eastern Conference in points? A 12-game unbeaten streak. I mean, I don't know if any of us saw that, but we're 2/3 of the way through the year. What are your thoughts? I mean, is this are you surprised? Are you not surprised? Or did you think this is about right?
I would say that As far as points goes and standing goes, I think that's about right. What I'm just still disappointed in, and I know our friends at the USL show have been harping on this since the beginning of the years, is our lack of consistency and success against top teams. So I would say I'm happy where we are in the standings. I'm still bullish on how we're gonna end up, but I would just like a damn statement win where we go out and just kick the crud out of one of these top teams, 3-4-1, whatever, and just put our domain on. We're the top team. There's no doubt about it, and I still think there's a couple of doubts that still surround the club.
We need that GB 4-goal St. Louis game, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly, or like when Louisville curb stomped us last year. We need something like that.
That would be nice. That would be nice. I would love to see, FC Cincinnati put it to an opponent, not just any opponent. I mean, I'm talking about a team in the Eastern Conference that is a threat to win the USL Cup. There's not too many teams, I would think, in the USL Eastern Conference that you're looking up and down the standings saying, yeah, they got a realistic chance. I would think there's probably, 3-4 tops in the Eastern Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Boston, you're kind of our USL guy. You seem to watch like every single USL match that ever broadcasts. I know with all that free time, that PTO you rack up. So what do you make? We're 2/3 of the way through the year. Is this about par for the course where you thought they'd be?
No, I mean, honestly, I didn't see him in first place because there's 6 teams. I think that's a tough ask to be in first place. I did see him in the top 4 or 5, and then that's exactly where they are. They're just sitting at the top. I disagree with Brad. I disagree with the USL show. FC Cincinnati is they only got 2 losses against the top 5 teams. So they beat Pittsburgh in the Open Cup, and they drew them in the regular season. They beat Charleston Battery. They beat New York Red Bulls twice. They lost to Louisville City. So the only loss they've taken in the top 5 team is against number 4 Louisville City twice. And to me, that's great. That's a vast improvement over last year. I think this FC Cincinnati team is different, is a lot better than the previous 2 years. And I'm surprised. I'll be honest, I'm surprised.
Okay, so when the Patriots kick everybody's butt in the NFL, they don't lose to anybody. Okay, they dominate all the teams.
Year.
Okay, they pretty much dominate all the teams. The top teams, Pittsburgh typically dominate Cincinnati no matter where they play. The top teams dominate the other top teams. FC Cincinnati doesn't dominate them. I exclude. I know right now Nashville's in 6th place. Red Bulls are in 5th. Red Bulls are ahead by a point, but they got 2 games in hand in Nashville. I mean, you've got the 2 games against Nashville. I think we would all say we underperformed. The 2 games against Louisville City, we underperformed. We lost. Charleston, we didn't like that. Even though we won, we did not like how we played. And again, against Pittsburgh, I exclude the Open Cup, different lineups. When they were here, we won, or we drew 2-2, but I think it was safe to say is at best we were even in that match.
Man, I mean, you're cherry picking a little bit there, yeah.
That's not cherry picking at all. That's taking the results of all these teams.
Open Cup does matter a little bit.
No, it doesn't. Not when you're playing all the. You're not even playing. Pittsburgh didn't even play their 5 best players in that match. I don't care if it was away. But you can't.
They're star striker.
You literally cannot take a USL or a Open Cup, US Open Cup game, and put it towards that. You have to look at this. FC Cincinnati is underperforming against the top teams. It's fact.
I'll exclude Pittsburgh for you, but the Charleston Battery 1-0 win, first game of the season. You know, these guys are still getting used to each other, and they still eke out a 1-0 win. I don't care that it wasn't pretty. It shouldn't be. It's the first game of the year, and New York Red Bulls. That's a team we have historically struggled against, and we win there. We were the first team to win, and we were the only team to win in New York until Louisville did it this weekend in a weird 6-4 game.
They're playing baseball?
And then we won here versus them. And this is a team that's young and throws everything at you. And I loved those wins because it proves we can win when a team goes full on attack and even forgets their defense a little bit. The only teams we've struggled against, let's be honest, in the top 8, the only teams we struggled against were Louisville, Bethlehem Steel, and Nashville. And Most of those are ties. Louisville is the only team we struggled against, and that's still pretty early in the season, and we are missing some players that we have now. So I would love to I can't wait for that game when we go up against them down in Louisville.
I think, to be fair, in agreement with you, Boston, at the beginning of the season, we talked about this. We weren't clicking as a team. It took a while for everything to gel. I think all of us expected things to kind of come together quicker than they did. And the first, 8 to 10 games were rough. It wasn't, you could see those moments, but it wasn't like the team really was firing on all cylinders. And that's when we played Louisville. So it's really interesting that, probably part of what makes us feel like we're not doing well against top teams is the fact that we lost both our games to Louisville. And the fact that they were so early, I think, affects that at some level. I'd also go as far as, and I know you want to say something, Brad, but stand by. I'd also go as far as to say, I think as a team, we let these matchups get in our head. So I think when we go up against Louisville, we don't just go out and play a game. I think we put too much pressure on ourselves. When we go up against Nashville, I know Nashville isn't really in the top 4, but they're, top 8. And more importantly, it's like they're the other team going to MLS. And I think we let that get in our head. And it just feels like when we go up against these teams, we're underperforming because we're so worried about making mistakes that we're playing too conservatively and we're not taking the chances we need to get the goals. And they're taking the chances and they're getting rewarded. Okay, you can talk, Brad.
I don't want to share my opinion on what I really think the problem is. But we really probably should have lost in the scoreboard against Nashville twice. We lost in the scoreboard against Louisville twice. I want to see a statement win. I want them to just take it to one of these teams and beat the leaving Jesus out of them. That's all I want to see. That's all I want to see, and that's what I want to see this weekend. That's it.
So we've got some good comments, some good feedback in the chat room. Liam Malone mentioned that how disappointed he is to see FC Cincinnati in first halves this year not score goals. Usually it's coming in the second half, which then leads to Matt Imholt on YouTube saying, we have only had 2 goals by our midfielders and forwards in our last 4 USL games. We really do need Adi to step up down the stretch. So, yeah, this is it's going to be crunch time for FC Cincinnati. They got some tough games ahead. Obviously, they've got the game against Charleston this weekend. Then they're going to go to, I believe, let me pull it up here on my notes. Of course, I lost it. Don't they have Toronto and then Tampa?
Yeah.
So Tampa's no slouch, guys. And that's going to be on the road at Tampa. So we'll see what happens. But look, I think 2/3 of the year, you're in first place in the USL. A lot to be excited for. The team obviously is ambitious. They've gone out and gotten Fernando Adi, who I think is going to surprise a lot of people for how many goals he scores in this little short window we have him in the USL season. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up with 5 or 6 before the end of the USL regular season, maybe more. Wouldn't that be fantastic? So, of course, we want to hear from you. Get in touch with us via email, feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. What do you make of Fernando Adi's 2 games for FC Cincinnati? Or better yet, what do you think of their season so far, 2/3 of the way through the year? Feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. All right, let's start to wrap things up here. I'll start with you, Mr. PTO, Mr. I do nothing but play the Nintendo Switch all day, somehow still have a job. No, I'm just kidding, Boston. Boston razzle dazzle brazzle. I kid you because I care.
Taking a lot of grief here, you know. I tell you what, Subs, it's the no kids thing. It really frees up the time.
Amen.
Yeah, Paul, I'm so sorry. Brad's with me. And,
you just called Brad Paul?
He understands. I don't know.
I want to be like Paul Hedger when I grow up. So it's okay.
That's who's chatting, and I just read the name, so I apologize for that. But I tell you what, we have our problems. There's no denying that. But this team is in first place. This team is statistically supposed to take the first or second spot in the playoffs, home field advantage. I have a hard time complaining. I really do. If you would have asked us all at the beginning of the year, hey, would you take 80% shot at first or second place There'll be some midfield bumps. There'll be some new player bumps. Would you take it? And I'd say yes, all day long.
Good stuff, Boston. As always, I kid you about your love of all things. I don't even know where to go from here. I'm just going to wrap things up with you. We appreciate you being with us. As always, you do a good job. And are you going to be doing some UC soccer coming up here in a few weeks?
Yeah, actually, I think we start next week. The UC women are kicking off Gettler Stadium, and I somehow, and I feel bad for all of you listening to the broadcast, UC students, but I was somehow asked back to do the TV broadcast with Noonan, and so we're gonna tear it up again this year and give the women our best.
And where can folks tune in to your broadcasts?
I think it's on that UC Bearcats TV. You can also log into the UC Bearcats women's soccer website and check us out.
Very cool. I'm very jealous of you, Boston. That's probably why I tease you so much.
It is a lot of fun, and I tell you what, it's awesome experience. I'm really glad they let me join them in the broadcast booth.
Yeah, good stuff. Appreciate it as always, Boston. Final thoughts. I'll send it over to Bill Wolf. Bill, the Wolf Man.
Well, we're talking USL. We have a USL Cup here to win. Hopefully, make it to the playoffs. All that good stuff. Excited for all that. Don't want to lose track of that. But at the same time, it's kind of exciting. Yesterday was our 3-year birthday for FCC, and to celebrate it, we actually started taking season tickets for next year's inaugural MLS season. So it's exciting to see that finally come to fruition. From day one, we talked about being an MLS club. Here we are actually collecting season ticket, revenue or whatever your orders, I guess is the right way to put it. Season ticket orders from people. And, it's happening. I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm curious to see where the numbers lie. Obviously, my family is maybe an exception. We had 6 season tickets for the USL season this year, and just got word that my mom and dad decided to drop it down to 5 for the Major League Soccer season. I'm curious to see how many folks here in our audience, how many of you listening, are going to be reconsidering how many tickets you have next year for Major League Soccer. Are you dropping? Are you adding? Make sure you email us, feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. We'd love to hear more about your plans for ticketing. Bill, as always, appreciate your efforts. I didn't play your wolf sound effect, but
I'm good.
You're the man. Yeah, you are good. That is right, Bill. You are good. Final thoughts from Brad Weigel. Brad?
Yeah, I just want to take a second and say I'm still high on this team. I'm just saying there's some systematic issues that concern me, and I'm looking to see how they get addressed. I feel like when the Red Bulls won in 2016 and when Louisville won last year, you could see their plan of attack on the field every single match. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but you could see what they were trying to do, and more often they were successful. I'm still kind of not seeing it consistently enough with FC Cincinnati. So I want to say that. But my final thought, this week or this past Friday, I know a lot of you know this already, and it's really sad and disappointing to me personally that our guy DJ Schweitzer was let go from FC Cincinnati. He did a great job, especially with supporter relations and the initial branding with the club, and it was disappointing to me because really you think back to the beginning of Cincinnati Soccer Talk, he got all of us connected. He heard Brian and I, we were looking to start a podcast, and he said, Yosef and Subs, these two guys were looking to start one as well, and it might make more sense to partner up and combine efforts versus creating conflicting podcasts right off the bat. And so he really was the one who started CST, or got us together at least. So I don't know if he wants that or not, but DJ, great job. It was great to see you this week. I can't wait to connect more with you, work with you, continue to see how you shape this club now from the outside. And now the onus is on the club. Looking to see what they're going to do to continue to foster the great connections that the supporters have had with the club thus far. So DJ, best of luck, praying for you and your family. I know, God closes the wrong doors and opens the right ones for you, and I believe that's the case here. So best of luck to you, man.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments too, Brad. I think it'll be cool for DJ because now he can actually like sit in the Bailey and kind of fan out. When he goes to match days, he was always busy working. I think he might be one of the biggest soccer fans in the tri-state. So the fact now he can go and enjoy the game as a fan and participate in the march, chant with the Bailey, I think it'll be good for him. It might be tough right off the bat, but he's big in the soccer circles in the tri-state, and we certainly appreciate all the support he's given us over the years. So bummer to see him go, but as you said, one door closes, another one opens, and maybe he'll be off to bigger and better things. So I'm going to end the show on a little bit of a sad note. We have obviously a really big, I shouldn't say big, we've got a good group of guys here at CST, and girls, of course, with Trisha with us. But we did have one of our CST family members lose a family member over the weekend, and so we just want to send our sincerest thoughts and prayers to the family of Ben Knapp. For those of you who don't know Ben, he's been a guest on the podcast a couple times as an analyst. Also helped with the crossbar challenge video we did last summer down at Nippert Stadium. And Ben lost his dad, Robert, over the weekend. And so we just wanted to send our thoughts and prayers to the Knapp family. If you know Ben, or if you've connected with him on social media, make sure you send him some kind messages. I'm sure that's not easy. So Ben, we're thinking about you. We hope that hopefully you can get through this really tough time. We really do offer our prayers to you. As I try to segue from that, remember, we do have our Foot Golf Classic coming up here on August 25th. Right now, we've decided to keep the price at $180, but you've got till tonight. So if you're listening to this podcast tomorrow, sorry about your luck. But for those of you watching live, you got a chance to still get your foursome in for a $180. Head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/footgolf. We tee off or kick off at 3 p.m. on the 25th there at Woodland Golf Course. We've got a great event planned. I know Brad's working really hard at that. So go check it out, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/footgolf. Brad, you want to add anything to that real quick?
No, it's going to be a blast. I'm talking to some of the guys about some of the basket items that we're going to have this year. It's going to be killer. The winning teams, top 3 teams, all get custom growlers. Everybody who signs up and plays with us are going to get a CST big 32-ounce water bottle. It looks actually it's really sweet. So they just come out to support a great event. I know Sports Games for Kids has had the opportunity to take a lot of kids to matches this year. They're going to continue to build and grow, just like the club here. So come on out. Should be a great day. And then afterwards, please join us at Westside Brewing for a little watch party, drinks and dinner afterwards. I think we're going to have pulled chicken and shredded beef sandwiches, and we're going to have salad for Bill. And, it'll be done up right. I think if you've come the last couple of years, it'll be a good time.
It will be a good time. Again, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/footgolf is where you can get registered. It's for a great cause, Sports Games for Kids. So go check that out tonight. All right, that's going to do it for episode 128. My thanks to Bill Wolf, Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle, and Brad Weigel. I'm Subes, reminding you to watch your tackles, and we'll see you all next week as my voice cracks. You got to love that. See y'all.